Welcome to Embrace the Grind. I'm your host, AircraftSparky, on behalf of OTU Media here in the bunker, deep in the heart of Oklahoma City. This show is very simple. The premise is, like most things in life, politics itself is a grind. And well, sometimes it's difficult, but we've just gotta hunker down and push forward. And me, your host, AircraftSparky, give you a little bit of background of who I am. I've been doing YouTube for about 2 or 3 years now. Been talking about politics, cultural commentary and stuff, and been covering protests and such here in Oklahoma. I am not an Oklahoman, although this is my adopted home. I love the people here, and I love this land, and I love America. I'm a veteran of 14 years of service, and I continue to serve my community through activism and, of course, talking about things such as politics. This grind that we are going to go on, this journey, we are going to explore exactly how the left is trying to manipulate the culture in order to make you think that you're a bad person. And well, that ain't true. We may not agree on how to get to the same thing, but ultimately with the left, we do actually share a lot in common. We have the same goals. We want to get to the same place. We want to make America greater. We want to make Oklahoma greater. But the only difference is how do we get there? And that's where the true grind is. But look, that's how this show is going to be. And starting next week, in our third segment, we will have call-ins. So you, the audience member, can call in, give me comments, ask questions or whatever, and eventually we're going to start having politicians come in here, and you're going to be able to ask them the hard questions that you've always wanted to. So that's the idea of this show. A little background on who I am, of course. And look, let's just get right down to it. Well, no, we'll have to do that after a brief message from one of our sponsors. And welcome back. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Did you know that I am considered a domestic terrorist right now by the Democrat Party? Yes, on January 6th, I traveled up to Washington, D.C. to witness the election certification. And of course, well, we all know what happened. But a lot of things the media isn't talking about is, some things that I want to cover tonight. So who was there? Well, look, there was people who were Trump supporters. There was libertarians. There were Republicans. There was Democrats. There was Antifa, Black Lives Matter. There was all different types of groups coming together. And it was interesting. A lot of the people who I talked to, they actually told me, look, if Donald Trump actually lost in a fair election, they'll accept those results. But they don't trust the results because every chance that has come around to ask for recertification for recounts, they only did it halfway. So if you're going to certify an election, if you're going to count it, there's multiple things that have to go into this. And we're talking about signature verification. We need to make sure that this person only votes once. And we have to count the votes properly. Who did they vote for? One of the interesting things that are going on here, and feel free to fact check me here, but on election day, there was approximately about 133 registered voters in America. 133 million, sorry. But in the end, we had 155 million votes cast for the President of the United States. Now, riddle me this. Why is it in certain countries, such as Australia and such, that have compulsory voting, can only get about 80% of voting percentage, and we got 117%? Yes, that's exactly what happened. Now, I'm not saying there was fraud that could have changed the election. I'm saying there's improprieties and there's potentials that things just did not happen the way they were supposed to. And that's what most people were responding to. They came out there, and many people were stating things like they want to audit all 50 states. It doesn't matter who won the state. They wanted signature audit, a direct count, and make sure there was no repeat votes. So this is why the people showed up. Of course, Donald J. Trump, current president of the United States, and that will change more than likely Wednesday, he did put out a tweet saying everyone needs to come out for January 6th. It'll be a blast. It'll be a wild ride, whatever he said. That right there is what the Democrats is kind of leeching on to, incitement of violence. But the reality is, on the ground, yes, there was some violence. But the vast majority of those people who were there did not go there with the intent of even entering the Capitol. In fact, very few people did. We're talking about, they're saying hundreds of people on mainstream media entered the Capitol. Okay, I'll give them that. There was possibly 200 people that entered the Capitol, maybe 300 at the high end, but not really more than that. The vast majority of people sat there on the lawn and hooted and hollered. Now, during the time when the barricade was broken through, the reason why the barricade was broken through where I was on the, I want to say it was the east side where the Supreme Court actually sits. On the east side of the Capitol building, there was a group that was there, and I was there before Donald Trump finished his speech. We got there so we could see people coming in, whatnot. I actually got to see the vice president show up, and this is the side where all the representatives show, and that's how they walk in. The Congress is on this side. There was a pastor there on the ground talking about, we would like to move up to the stairs. Area captain there seemed like he was trying to work with the protesters and working on towards something. And then a couple of the other cops started rolling their eyes, and things escalated a little bit. Now, I'm not blaming the police officers for the escalation at this point, but I will tell you that dismissive attitude is what caused the initial breaking of the barriers on the side I was at. What happened on the west side, the Washington Monument side, I can't speak for. I wasn't there to see. Everyone, they say it was stormed. The Capitol was stormed. Oh, they stormed the Capitol. No. People walked up to the stairs, and initially they did not even go all the way up the stairs. In fact, they stood at the base. And eventually they pushed their way halfway up, and then they pushed all the way up to the top. Once the top was reached, they started playing some Quiet Riot, we're not going to take it, that people having fun, hooting and hollering. And once the police officers started throwing flashbangs, that's when it really got ramped up. I believe that the Capitol would not have been broken into had the Capitol Police not flashbang and pepper sprayed a bunch of people. You can sit there and say, well, that's blaming the police. Well, yes, that is blaming the police. That's exactly what that is. I believe they overreacted. That's just my opinion. That's from my viewpoint. But I'm not one of those people that is just going to generically back the blue. I support police officers and I support my veteran community. I'm a veteran myself. But I'm not going to blindly follow what the police say. There are police out there who do break their oath. I like to call them oath breakers. I'm an oath keeper. I swore to uphold and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And those of you who have taken that oath, you know what I'm talking about. But there's several people in the police forces that'll sit there and say, I'm going to do what I've got to do to hold my job. Ethics be damned. And I don't blame them. Look, there's a lot of people out of work right now because of the COVID lockdowns, and this is something that also helped escalate this situation. As we've been watching over the past year, the Wu flu, the sweet and sour sickness, the Chinese coof, whatever you want to call it, COVID-19, has shut down America, has shut down American businesses. 80% of American employment comes from small businesses, and yet, especially in blue states, we are seeing small businesses fail at exorbitant rates because of these highly restrictive lockdowns. And that is something that I find to be a problem. And most of the people out there protesting, they were suffering from. So the police that are enforcing these unconstitutional edicts are oath breakers. I'm not going to tell you you should disrespect them by any means, but you should remind them of what their job is in life. They swore to uphold and defend the Constitution, not the mayor's office, not the governor's office, the Constitution. If they can't handle that, then maybe they should take off that badge. And I believe that several people over there in the Capitol Police, a lot of them were sympathetic to what was going on. They did not like what they were being ordered to do, but they did it anyway. And once they did that, they became oath breakers, and no respect to them. They, in my eye, they pushed this. They pushed it further. They escalated the situation. So we all know what happened. People walked into the Capitol. It was completely unorganized because no one had a plan, because no one planned on going in the Capitol in the first place. Some people took selfies. There was 2 people actually reported smoking marijuana walking through the halls of the Capitol, which I think is insane. We had some people that was going through and sitting in the speaker's chair and things like that, taking selfies. It was quite disorganized. And that's how you know this wasn't fully planned out. Sure, I will admit there were people who had plans on entering the Capitol from day one when that first tweet came out from Donald Trump. But the majority of the people were not let in. And for those of you who are concerned with what's going on with our technocratic overlords, I'm looking at you, Facebook, I'm looking at you, YouTube, of course, Twitter, all these other places that are systematically going through and censoring conservative voices. Facebook was the primary mode of organization. Why did Parler get shut down when Facebook is what was used to organize this attempted coup? I don't know. So the question that we have is, what is next? Where do we go from here? Well, that's what this is about. We've got to take over the culture. Okay, for too long, we have allowed Hollywood to determine how our politics go. For too long, we have allowed the networks to tell us how to think. This show will be a bright and shining example of conservative voices trying to take back the culture, trying to maybe not make conservative mainstream, but at least put that thought in your head. Because why isn't conservatism a mainstream thought? Yes, there's 2 parties, but I think it's time to start an after party because I'm sick of the 2 parties we have. They're the exact same face. They're 2 different faces of the coin on. Okay, I'm really messing that one up, and I'm sorry. We'll just say they're 2 wings on the same bird. Okay, they're going in the same direction. And that is the problem. We have a monolithic voice in Congress. We need Republicans to actually stand up for their principles. We need Democrats to stand up for their principles, and we need to talk together. We need to work together. And with that, I'm going to have to let you go for just one moment, for a brief moment. A word from our sponsor. And welcome back. So, following the invasion of the Capitol, the storming of the Capitol by the evil people, we have heard multiple crying out, coming from majority from the left. And of course, we've heard some denunciations from the right. And you know what? I will denounce anyone who walked into the Capitol. I don't believe it needed to happen. But if you don't share that opinion, that's fine. I'm glad to talk about it. I personally did not walk into the Capitol. I thought it was a line too far. But let's talk about who right now is calling for retribution, if you will. Currently, we have people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the representative out of New York City. Of course, you have Nancy Pelosi, all the way from Browntown in California. And these people are sitting there saying that other sitting representatives, other congressmen and women are insurrectionists. They were in on the plot. And what is even more egregious is the fact that they are blaming the police who were assigned to protect them as being in on the plot as well. I don't understand this thought. There's a circular firing squad that is starting to evolve in Congress right now, where everyone is blaming everyone. Did you know that Ayanna Pressley, representative from Massachusetts, has come out and claimed, she said chemical warfare, but really what she meant to say was biological warfare happened inside the Capitol that day because, heaven forbid, someone was not wearing their mask. Let's break that down for a moment. Here's my feelings on mask. Look, if you've got to wear it for work, if you choose to do so, do it. Don't tell me how to live my life. I don't believe the government should actually be telling me what type of article of clothing I should wear. The last time a Western government has decided to tell people what type of article of clothing to wear for the general population, it came with the Star of David on it. You want to talk about fascism in America? The mask is fascism. If you're telling me that I must wear something to protect you, that should be my choice. What I should wear to protect myself, that should be my choice as well, not the government's choice. But let's get back on topic. We have congressmen and women claiming that people of the opposing party are traitors to the United States. The people who came into the Capitol was not a monolith of political ideologies. We're talking about individuals there who were left-leaning, right-leaning, libertarian. People from all walks of life walked into the Capitol illegally. What would have happened if they would have actually captured or detained some of these congressmen and women? I have no clue. I'm sure there would be someone there who would do something not polite to them. But I don't know. I can't speak in generalities like that. But we're seeing a rhetoric come out. AOC the other day was talking about how they need to form re-education camps for Trump supporters. Now, just because I vehemently oppose some of the agendas being pushed by the Democrat Party doesn't mean that I need re-education. It just means that I don't agree with them. Yet again, the calls to segregate people into certain camps. We haven't seen this since the 1940s. Circa Deutschland. The other day on CNN, there was a call to basically oppress channels that have more viewers than CNN's daytime viewership. And I believe this was on reliable sources with Brian Stelter. You had a person actually saying that YouTube channels with more viewers than CNN are spouting extremist rhetoric and that they must be censored. And then they called on carriers such as Verizon, AT&T, and such to stop beaming in different channels like Newsmax and OANN, in offering that to be beamed into people's houses. And I'm just sitting there going, are you that scared of competition? I mean, if you're going to capitalist, go full capitalist. Don't half butt it. I do not see the point in complaining that you're not doing so good on a competitive stage. Let the bad ideas and the good ideas be aired and allow the sunlight to kill the bad. Because that's what happens with bad ideas. When you put a bad idea out there, people will hear it and they'll go, well, that's the dumbest crap I've ever heard. And that idea loses its credibility and it starts to wither and die. A good idea will get support and people will start to back it. So I am seeing network news as a whole. Ted Turner had a brilliant idea when he thought about making the cable news network. He monetized news. He tried to make it mainstream. Unfortunately, fortunately, news isn't that entertaining. And in the era of Trump, news has become nothing more than a reality TV show. It's all about my rage bait, ladies and gentlemen. How many clicks can we get? Let's put so much hyperbole in all of our stories that, of course, you're going to want to watch it. And that is part of the problem that we're seeing here in America. I am seeing people quoting all kinds of odd things that never happened. I went down to the Capitol this past weekend because there was supposed to be some protest. And the Oklahoma 2A Society told its members, hey, don't show up there. Something about it isn't right. I went down there anyway just to see who showed up. Turns out there was a bunch of reporters. There was one or two Trump supporters, and there was a couple of Biden-Harris supporters. And it was actually, I had an interesting conversation with one of the Biden-Harris supporters, and he started quoting things that were false. And I'm like, wait. You're telling me that there was no Antifa, there was no Black Lives Matter that entered the Capitol. I said, do me a favor and explain John Sullivan. For those of you who don't know, John Sullivan is the only person who entered the Capitol who was arrested and has been released ROR under house arrest. Everyone else is still sitting in jail. He happens to be a Black Lives Matter activist who was earlier arrested for rioting in Provo, Utah. Why is it he's out and no one else is? Could it be that he is some type of FBI informant? No. I think what it is the rhetoric of the current political world has made it to where we make exceptions for certain people. You want to talk about systematic racism? Well, systematic racism does exist, but it doesn't exist on the side in which Black Lives Matter would sit there and pretend it does today. Majority of it is we have double standards today. We have a three-tiered justice system. We have one set of laws for the rich. We have one set of laws for the leftist activists and another set of laws for the average American. And it's the difference for any of them. Look, our politicians should be held to the exact same standards that we're held to. They're not that important. Before they came into politics, they weren't special, and really, being in politics, they shouldn't be that special either. They're the people who was hired to represent us, the people. There are 5 branches of the government. Hate to break it to you. I know in school we teach 3, but you have the legislative, which of course is your Congress. You have your executive, which would be the president. You have your judicial, which is going to be the Supreme Court, judiciary system. And then you have the media, which happens to be the propaganda wing for the state these days. Because if you really want to tell me that network journalism isn't propaganda, oof, lads, you really need to put a finger on that pulse there. And the most strongest The most important branch of government, the fifth branch, the people. And we, the people, have neglected so much. It is time for us to stand up, and we need to get politically active. We need to be calling our representatives, our senators. And I'll tell you this, I have called Senator Langford's office and Senator Inhofe's office on several occasions and told them exactly what I thought, and you should do that too. I have not talked with our current representative, well, my current representative, Representative Bice, but I look forward to having many interactions with her as things go by, because we voted out Kendra Horn because Kendra did things that we don't like, and, well, Representative Bice, no, we're not going to let you go either. The concerns with all this is as the rhetoric escalates, the question is, where does it end? We've already seen talks of re-education camps. We've heard calls out for censorship for wrongthink. My question is, where does it stop? And how long will the American people actually stand and allow this type of conversation to continue? We, as the citizenship, the fifth branch of government, the strongest branch of government, needs to stand up and let our voices be heard. No longer should we rely on just our representatives to speak for us. We need to get in their face and remind them who they work for and who they are supposed to speak on behalf. And when they mess up, we let them know. And I predict in the next 3 to 4 months, look, they're already trying to push out Ted Cruz. They're already trying to push out all these senators who voted against certification of the Electoral College. So they're going to kick out duly elected representatives because they don't like how they voted, even though the Democrats have vehemently opposed every election they have ever lost. It is a partisan game, ladies and gentlemen. And as long as we allow that conversation to continue, which we should allow them to continue. However, what we should prevent them from doing is calling for extreme measures. Do you really want to be locked up in a camp because you voted for the wrong person? I think not. I don't want that. Neither should you. But look, that's all we got for this segment. I'll see you on the other side. And welcome back. In this segment, normally we are going to be having call-ins. With this being the inaugural show episode, if you will, well, how are you going to know where to call in if we haven't told you? My producer, B. Rice. Where will you have that in the description for next week?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so next week we will have in the description how to actually contact us. That way you can come in, you can comment, you can ask questions, and we can have a discussion about what's going on. Looking at everything, and I know January 6th, hey, that's been over a week ago, right? This is old news. Why am I talking about it? I'm talking about it because currently we have over 25,000 National Guardsmen with an estimated 50,000 peak on Inauguration Day showing up in D.C. Why are there this many people in D.C.? Why is there so much military? I've seen a ton of conspiracy going on. Some people think, oh, it's going to be a military coup. Martial law is going to be enforced. I think it's an overreaction. I could be wrong. But something about this is not sitting right with me. When you look at all the rhetoric that is coming out, when you see the calls for the re-education camps, the calls for mass censorship, and now we see an overabundance of military presence in the nation's capital, it makes me a little concernicus, if you will. I'm a little concerned about what's going on, and I don't know what's going to happen. And anyone that will tell you they know what's happening, more than likely is lying to your face. Let's just be completely frank about what's going on here. This is uncharted waters, ladies and gentlemen. We don't know what's going on. But it's not all gloom and doom. Look, the constitutional process has happened. I am not happy with the outcome of that. The world has not ended. Plain and simple. I am not happy with the outcome, and we are going to see exactly what will happen in a Joe Biden administration. And I don't think it's all going to be good, but I don't think it's all going to be bad either. Hopefully, we will have the GOP stand up. I really would love to see a Republican with a backbone. Sure, we have people like Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley and the sort that have stood up and made statements. But the problem is talk is cheap. It's one thing to talk the talk, but it's another thing to walk the walk. And this is a problem that we see with Republicans. They'll talk patriot, but they don't walk patriot. And there's some individuals that I have to give the big cojones award to, and that would have to be people like Rand Paul. As annoying as Rand Paul may be at times, at least he will stand for 16 hours and filibuster to make sure that things don't necessarily go all one-sided. And he has legitimate things when what he talks about. The man is principled, and I give him credit for that. When you're looking at people like Ted Cruz, they have principles, but they're willing to negotiate their principles. And that's where one of the problems really shows up. We cannot negotiate on what we consider to be a principled stance. We can negotiate on unprincipled things in order to come more towards the center. But we can't give up our principled stances. Sometimes it's perfectly fine to just say no. It's time to be adults. And I hate to break it to you, politicians, but you've had it a little bit too nice out there in D.C. That $170,000 you make a year for basically getting nothing done, hopefully that time is coming to a quick end. And I'm not calling for mass passing of laws. Far from it. Democracy, the representative republic that we live in, it was designed to be very slow, very, very dirty. The founding forefathers, when they decided they were going to institute this type of government, they talked about how it was going to be a slow and arduous process to change anything. And that is by design, and that's the way it should be. That's the way it should continue, in my opinion. As long as we have representatives standing up for the principles of their constituents. Yes, for their constituents. Listen, Representative Bice. If you stand for the principles of the 5th 5th District of Oklahoma, you'll be able to keep your job. Otherwise, I'm going to do everything in my power to find someone to run against you. And I don't care what party they run with. Just as long as they back up my principled stances, your principled stances, that's what I care about. I am not a party loyalist, and if anyone else is, well, then you're selling yourself short, in my opinion. I believe that we should hold everyone to account, including the parties. Over the next couple of months, you are going to see this show grow. Not only in audience, but in what you're seeing here right now. I love this studio here at OTU. I love the producer who I'm working with. And thank you to all of our great sponsors that have gotten us here. But as we grow, we are going to be adding more. We're going to have guests come on. We're going to be doing interviews. This is what we need. We need the conversation to happen. And with the call-in segment, you'll have that opportunity to join in that conversation every week. And that is probably the most important thing. Look, I can sit here and talk into a mic for about an hour and a half. Who cares what I think? Who am I? I'm just a fat guy with an opinion. But you, the viewer, you, the audience, you, the people, your opinion is way more important than mine because you're probably smarter than me. And, well, just to be honest, probably more entertaining too. So, I hope that we get a strong call-in segment. I want to see it. And when we start getting politicians coming in here, because they're going to be begging for your vote, when they come in here and I'm asking them questions, I'm going to miss things that maybe, well, it wouldn't be important to me because I may not know about it or something, but it's important to you. And that'll be your opportunity to call in and ask that politician. The only thing that we ask is you keep it family friendly. We want no cussing on this channel. We want to be family friendly. We want everyone to be able to participate. If you can abide by that standard and that standard alone, you're completely fine. That's all we want. We will have people screening the calls. So you'll call into the program, and my man B. Rice, my producer, he'll pick it up and he'll talk with you, find out exactly, who you are, where you're from. Don't have to give your actual name. You can give a screen name, of course, because we like anonymity. And, be like, hey, want to ask this question? Cool, man, no problem. We'll put you on here, put you on hold for a moment, pipe it in through me, and we'll talk about it. And if we have a politician, of course, you'll be able to ask that politician directly what he or she thinks. That way, we'll turn it into a town hall. So, of course, there will be some bad actors. There will be some people that will try to call in, and hopefully we catch them as soon as we can, and we yeet them out of here because we don't want YouTube to censor us. We don't want Facebook to censor us because they're looking for reasons to censor conservative voices. So, part of the handshake agreement between myself and you is that we do our best to keep it family friendly. We try to support each other. We're going to disagree. We're going to bump heads here and there. And that's good. Because if everyone believes the way I believe, it's not going to be the best thing. We need a broad spectrum of ideas and a broad spectrum of opinions. And if we can get those in a civil manner, well, that's how you win, ladies and gentlemen. That's what makes America great. America is a wonderful land filled with people from all different backgrounds coming together under the common principles of liberty. It's time to set the examples, folks. It's no more are we going to be screaming at each other in the face of each other because, oh my God, someone said something, and clutching your pearls because it might have hurt your viewpoint, your worldview. It's time. It's time to man up or woman up. Time to put on the big person panties. That's where we're going to go. That's where we're going from here. That's what I want. Hopefully that's what you want. But we got to pay the bills. So I'll see you on the other end. Another commercial break. Well, look, that's about all the time we have for now. But look, I want you to do me a favor if you haven't done it already. Look, if you're on Facebook, you need to follow this channel. And of course, you need to do whatever it is so you get notifications of when we go live on YouTube. You need to hit that subscribe button, tickle that bell icon for us. That way you'll get more notifications of when we put out more content. And do us a favor on both of these platforms. Please share this. Share this with friends, family, and foes alike, because the idea is for them to join in the conversation. And that is how we embrace that grind, ladies and gentlemen. We have those tough conversations. And I got to give a quick shout out, very important shout out. There's multiple people who have been supporting OTU. That's Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite. They've done that via Patreon. And in the description below should be a link to our Patreon site. Go check it out. See if you want to support this project. If you do, click on whatever level of donation you want to do, and it is greatly appreciated. I have to give a great shout out to all of our current patrons. I believe we have 17 right now. 17? Yes. So we have 17 patrons, and God bless you all. Look, the message is free. Delivering it is not. So if you help us, we're, of course, going to give you credits. We're going to show you in the ending credits. And I don't know if we have that graphics up for tonight. Oh, we do? So in the ending graphics, we're going to actually name our patrons and thank them, because without them, all this isn't possible. But look, I'm AircraftSparky, and thank God you're not, because you don't want to look like this. Here from Studio A, at the Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite bunker, deep in the heart of Oklahoma City, in middle America, flyover country. Thank you so much for stopping by. That's all we got for right now. So until next week, you have great days, and God bless.